My name is Zach Jones, and it gives me the greatest pleasure to say that I'm a second-year geography student studying at the University of Nottingham. And whilst for many that might be a fairly simple thing to say, for me that's been a lifelong dream achieved, a dream that began at the age of 7. So I was brought up in a small town called Broseley in Shropshire by my mum, who at the time was a full-time parent, and my dad, who was a window cleaner. And as a child, I was always very naturally inquisitive. And I'd always be looking around the town, wondering what life would be like for me in the future, and what Broseley would hold for me in my future. And so I took that to my Year 5 primary school teacher, as I turned to him and asked the question, "Mr. Heath, what will Broseley hold for me?" And I can never forget his response, as he turned to me and said, "You need to rephrase the question." He said, "It's not what will Broseley hold for you, it's what will the world hold for Zach Jones." And after asking what he meant, he explained that with university and higher education, you have the potential to change your life forever. You have the power to learn, to meet new people, to explore new things, and become a person you always dreamed you could be, or maybe someone you didn't even think you could be. And that was the moment. It was from those inspirational words that Mr. Heath told me that started my dream to study at university. Now, my route to university was challenging for a number of reasons. I was really fortunate in the fact that my older brother, Joe, had studied at university. But before that, no member of the Jones family in the history of any generation had studied at college, let alone a higher education institution. So it was the complete unknown. But what I lacked in experience, I believe I made up for in enthusiasm. I can honestly remember the first day of A-levels, and this is a true story, I wish it wasn't, but I walked into the really crowded study room. I sat in the corner, I closed my eyes and I gave myself this pep talk. I said, "You can do this, Zach Jones. You need to ask yourself, what does the world hold for you?" And I can then remember opening my eyes to a room of stunned faces. And it was at that point that I realised I had not said my pep talk in my head, but out loud. So it wasn't quite the first impression that I had hoped for. But nevertheless, I carried on. I think anyone who's been through A-levels will definitely admit that it's a challenging time for anyone. But I do argue that those challenges were particularly magnified for me coming from a low-income family. To fund my studies financially, I took on 4 different part-time jobs. In my lunchtimes, I worked as a lunchtime supervisor. In my evenings, I had some different paper rounds. And at the weekends, I shared my time both at a local greengrocer's and washing up at a local restaurant. And having to manage all of those different part-time jobs on top of my studies and UCAS applications, I simply didn't have time to engage in all of the extracurricular activities available for me at A-level. In the entire 2 years I studied, I didn't have a single hour, a single lunchtime that I didn't have to myself. I was either working academically or working to fund my studies. I didn't have the opportunity to get involved in the school play or run for head boys, something I was so passionate about doing. But by that point, my determination had kicked in, and I knew what I needed to do. But it was at that stage when it just became more and more difficult to see that I could actually achieve my dream. And that was when I went on the Nottingham Potential Summer School, one that's been mentioned earlier. I can honestly tell you, for someone from my background, having never stepped foot on a university campus before, the ability to go for the week, experience university life, stay in the halls of residence, talk to existing students and go to lectures, that's truly life-changing. As soon as I arrived at the university, I fell in love with the beautiful University of Nottingham, but also fell in love with university as a concept. It's a place where you can go, you can meet new people, you can develop new skills and become a person again that I never thought I could be. That's what really gave me the motivation to carry on through my A-level studies. So eventually, and I do mean eventually, I managed to get through my A-levels and accepted my offer to the University of Nottingham. So my first impressions of the beautiful university was slightly overshadowed by the fact I just arrived on the train and was currently carrying my entire life's possessions on my back, looking like some sort of human turtle. I can honestly remember the last moment at the train station, which got a bit emotional as I was saying goodbye to Mum and Dad. And Mum and my brother had lifted this massive backpack, probably as big as myself, onto my back, and I got strapped up, and Dad said, "Are you all right?" I was trying to look strong, so I said, "Yeah, fine." And then as they walked off, I remember waving to them as the train pulled up, and then I just honestly fell backwards. I sort of fell straight onto the platform. So if that tells you the level of weight I was carrying, that's a good representation. But in amongst all of that weight and difficulty, I stopped by the lake, and I looked around at the beautiful surroundings and thought, I've done it. I've actually achieved my dream. And I just felt so proud and honoured to be studying at the University of Nottingham. I was almost about to give myself another pep talk, but from experience I decided that maybe that wasn't the best idea. So in my first week of studies, I went down to the Nottingham's Financial Support Office, and they gave me all of the information about applying to bursaries and scholarships. And so I submitted my application, hoping and praying that I'd be lucky enough to be selected. And when I found out I had been successful, I was so happy, as I knew that for me it would be genuinely life-changing. The main benefit for me in my studies as a student here is that for the first time in my entire academic life, I no longer have to balance so many different part-time jobs with my academic work. I'm able to engage in new concepts and go deeper into the topics that really interest me, something I never thought I'd have the opportunity to do. But in addition to that, I've got free time to engage in all the extracurricular activities on offer at Nottingham, things that really shape you as a person. As you can probably tell, I am a member of the gym at the university. The fantastic David Ross Centre, I've been there a few times. But in addition to that, I've also got involved in different societies, things like the Debating Society, the Nottingham Summer School Society, and all those extra things that really do shape you as a person. I have such an enthusiasm for lectures and learning, something that still baffles all of my friends today. I'll be in the 7th hour of urban theory or statistical analysis and still be writing pages and pages of notes. And the reason is just because I feel so fortunate to be studying at such an incredible place. So I really hope that summed up the massive impact that you have. And I'd just like to end by saying, from all of us, all the people mentioned tonight, from myself and everyone who receives a bursary at the University of Nottingham, thank you for allowing us to ask that big question, what does the world hold for us? Thank you.